could we see JASMY going to the price of $1 in 2025? Hypothetically, I think maybe, because I think that this year could be so special. And the way you take a look at it is that JASMY is arguably one of the best projects out there, even though nothing I say is financial advice. Now, you may be thinking, okay, why this year specifically? It's because historically, we do know that altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. If we base this off the last Bitcoin halving event, 18 months from then is actually October of this year, 2025. So the way you take a look at it is that even though this is not a surefire date, like I'm not saying that, hey, every single altcoin is going to peak at that time. I'm not saying that. However, even though history doesn't always repeat itself, it does tend to rhyme. And I think this right here is a good benchmark as to when we could very well see JASMY really do something amazing. And I think that, of course, it's going to take time to do that. And I think as the bull run progresses, we could very well see JASMY just climb higher and higher. And just imagine once JASMY goes to the price of 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, at that point, $1 is just 2x from that. And man, the FOMO could just be insane. And we've seen this time and time again. Take a look at Cardano's native token called ADA, hovering around 3 cents at one point. It wasn't doing the best. Then it went to the price of $1. That was pretty difficult. But going to $2 and then eventually $3, that seemed pretty easy, because we've seen time and time again that growth usually beyond a certain point typically becomes a little bit exponential when it comes to certain cryptocurrencies. At least it feels like. Because again, once ADA, Cardano's native token, was able to break that $1 mark, man, it just really skyrocketed. So when it comes to JASMY, I think that once JASMY goes to the price of 10 cents, I think it's just up and away at that point. Now, again, there's going to be slight pullbacks along the way, but I think generally speaking, the general direction could be upwards. And I think that before this point is over, again, JASMY at the price of $1, I really don't see why not. Now, people may think that, okay, this is impossible because JASMY, it's focused on the wrong market. There's too many good competitors on top of that, but I disagree. The data storage market, which of course JASMY is focused on, is predicted to be worth nearly $800 billion by 2030, according to Fortune Business Insights. So that's not a small market by any means. And now granted, it's not that size right now, but the trajectory is heading in the right direction. Not to mention as well, when people say, oh, there's too many good competitors, I disagree with that. There isn't many good competitors, in my opinion, when it comes to JASMY. There may be a lot of competition, but it doesn't mean many are good, if that makes sense. Because if people are asked about these decentralized data storage projects that are focused, again, on that aspect, usually they think of JASMY, Filecoin, SciCoin, Arweave, and storage. That's like the top 5. Now, again, when there is mass scale attention when it comes to the data storage market, and I do believe that could hypothetically happen as the bull run progresses in a massive way, guess where they're really going to pay attention to? Primarily these 5 projects. But then the thing is, when it comes to JASMY and Filecoin, they're pretty much the leaders in this space when it comes to the attention. So when it comes to JASMY and Filecoin, they could very well have like quote unquote like first dibs, you know what I mean? Where people really believe in that, because of course there are many meme coins out there, but then naturally when people start believing in meme coins, typically they gravitate towards what? Dogecoin, Shiba Inu. Why? It's because they're like the mainstays. So when it comes to this data storage space, even though it's not massive as of right now, yet at least, when it comes to JASMY and Filecoin, they're pretty much like the Dogecoin and Shiba Inu of the data storage space, if that makes sense. So I think something like JASMY could really gain that mass attention. And the special thing about JASMY is that it's legally compliant as a cryptocurrency in Japan. And people may think, okay, who cares about this? Well, first of all, it's very difficult to do that in Japan. Not to mention, this does give JASMY some credibility in terms of its, I would say, secure nature, because of course, other projects out there, they may not have this. And granted, many people are still going to believe in them regardless of that or not. But then this is a good touch. And I think this is why the JASMY community is so strong, because people, they have a difficult time latching onto something that they don't feel secure with, if that makes sense. People believe in Bitcoin because they think it's rare. There's a lot of institutional investors, a lot of enterprise adoption. People believe in Ethereum because they like the ecosystem. People like BNB because of the fan base, also Solana. And when it comes to JASMY, I think they latch onto this because, again, they know that this is legally compliant in Japan, and they feel like they have a strong foundation to believe in, if that makes sense. So when I take a look at something like JASMY, I think this right here is really well equipped to do well during a fully fledged bull run. The community is very passionate, not to mention it's pretty massive, and JASMY is listed in a bunch of major exchanges. And having a passionate community does matter, in my opinion, because if you think about, let's say, a product on Amazon, let's say there's like 100 bad reviews, people are going to pay attention to that. Maybe the product is good, but let's say there's a bunch of random people that just want to critique the product for fun. Who knows, right? Maybe a competitor, who knows, something like that. This is really going to sway the mindset of future clients that want to buy this, right? Or future consumers. So when you think about that, other projects out there, let's say the price is going down. A lot of people like to say, oh, it's bad, all this type of stuff. Eventually we see some projects just go off into the abyss because people sometimes they believe in like what others believe in. In some cases, like social proof does matter. If like 11 people think a product is bad, the 12th person has a very high likelihood of believing it's bad as well, even though it may be good. So when it comes to JASMY, the amazing thing about it is that the passionate community really does keep JASMY being one of these mainstays in a sense. Like it allows it to be one of the mainstays, I should say, because when people are spreading fear for no reason, FUD, that's just really bad for a project usually, especially if it happens in a mass scale. But that doesn't happen when it comes to JASMY. There's going to be some here and there that really don't like it for whatever reason, and that's their choice. But when it comes to JASMY, generally speaking, the community is very passionate. They really believe in the project. And the way you take a look at it is that even though it's not the biggest project out there, it doesn't mean it's a bad project by any means. I think it's very fantastic. And if you think about the concept of JASMY, it's trying to achieve something so fantastic. And decentralizing data storage is necessary, in my opinion, because if you take a look at a lot of data storage nowadays, it's often centralized. Nothing really wrong with that. It's been working so far, and I think it's going to continue to work, but it could always be improved. And why is centralization not really that beneficial? Because if, let's say, someone is hiding their treasure, now, would it make more sense, or should I say, would it be logically more difficult to rob all this treasure if this person hid the treasure all in one location or in 50 different locations? I think logically it's better if they hide it in 50 different locations, even though it's a little bit more tiring to do that, a little bit more annoying, but then it's more safe. Let's say this one treasure, if it's only all in one location, gets robbed, then what happens? All gone. But then if it's like 50 different locations, even if like 2 or 5, there's still over 40 that are intact, so to speak. So decentralization is just much more beneficial, in my opinion, as opposed to centralization. And keep in mind, again, when things usually gain a big reputation, when there's usually, something that is often viewed as people as, hey, this is the premier project or this is a premier company. Sometimes people, for whatever reason, they try to breach it. They try to do whatever to it, right? We've seen some big projects, people attempt to hack them, whatever the case may be. So if, let's say, this data storage is centralized, or should I say highly centralized, typically controlled by a single entity, there may be some chinks in that armor when it comes to that company or enterprise or whatever the case may be. Gets breached, everyone's data could hypothetically be compromised, theoretically. However, through decentralization, no matter how big this project can get, how reputable it is, just naturally because it's decentralized, it's going to be very difficult to breach, if that makes sense. So the way to take a look at it is that JASMY has the right concept, and reaching the price of $1 during this run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Even despite the action not really being the best as of right now, I think better days are ahead, especially with over 600 million crypto owners as we speak. Yeah, I think 2025 is going to be a very special year, but only time will tell, and I'm still accumulating JASMY and still waiting because, again, $1 wouldn't surprise me at all during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's going to lead the captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.